Oh, shit, I'm just saying random.
Dream delicious.
What's up, guys? I think this is episode 30 of The Flip Side. Excited to dig right into it. Dude, 30, Christian.
Episode 30. Welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for listening and your time. We say it every week, but last milestone that we hit was 26 weeks, half a year. Now it's 30. So we finally hit a new chapter, episode 30. Interested to see where we go from here, but yeah, new week, new milestone. We keep hitting them. What are your thoughts?
I'm pretty excited. 30 feels like when it gets real. I feel like before 30, it's sort of just a phase. It's just a trend. But I think once you get past like 30, past 35, plus 50, that's when it starts getting more and more real. And yeah, I think 30 feels real. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, 100%. It just feels more real. But like we'll go on this slight topic, a tangent topic here. But so we toss up the idea of, potentially having a season, or multiple seasons of this, and people can, tune into the seasons they want to, depending on the longevity of this. So a thought was to essentially go 30 episodes, close it, or 26 or whatever, close season 1 and then start season 2. So we'd introduce, hey guys, welcome back. Welcome to season 2. Thank you so much for listening. Season 1 was great. Season 2, we plan to give you this, but I'll let you discuss the reasons for you wanting to essentially continue the numerical chronological order in the sequencing of the episodes and just being episode 1 all the way to episode 999, right? But like, what are your thoughts on seasonal podcasts or something like that? Because like, for me, when I think seasonal, my mind automatically correlates to TV shows, like season 1, and it's got a definitive start and a definitive end, and you're like, there's a long break and you're very keen for the next one. But podcasts, I feel it's a lot different, eh? Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really like the idea that you brought to the table. Having the idea of seasons, like it's weird how it works for TV. It's weird how Game of Thrones doesn't do like episode 1 to episode 180. They do seasons, and like I guess the one reason why they do seasons is to segment up the show, too, so they can have breaks in between seasons, so for actors to relax. Whereas podcasts and anime, it's like every single week because you don't have any actors that need to take time off. But yeah, season, it's like a thing that works well for TV show, I guess, for those reasons. And I guess there are story arcs, but then even as humans, we have like story arcs every season as well, I guess. But then again, what I was just going to say is, if we have different story arcs, say one arc we're talking about like mindset, growth, investing, future, that will attract different audiences and people might get confused. But then again, TV shows sort of have different arcs and they don't really lose audiences due to that. But I think my main reason is I like the continuous episodes because I just like the idea of reaching like episode 100, episode 200, 1,000. And I feel like that's sort of what really shows if we're serious. Like if we literally go to any company and say, hey, the Flip Side, we're up to episode 1,000, we're looking for new sponsors, that is going to show them that we're serious, and that's going to give them a chance and be like, hey, let's sponsor them because these guys have been going at it for 1,000 weeks in a row. Those are my reasonings, I guess. What's your thoughts?
I 100% agree in that seasons are good as a breakdown for story arcs, and like I said before, it gives a definitive start and definitive end. It gives actors a chance to go here, there, and wherever, right? And I think you're right, because if we had to rotate this on a seasonal basis, not saying that we wouldn't record every week still, we probably still would, and just have a backlog and then release it. It hinders our ability to be able to interact properly with our audience, etc. Already we're like 1 or 2 weeks ahead, and we might need to sort that out and we might need to address it later, but for now it's fine, right? But like I said, already we're a week ahead, but you're 100% right. We'd have to essentially create a thematic would have to take a thematic approach with the seasoning of it. So like season 1, mindset; season 2, growth; season 3, investing. And then it just becomes a little bit disjointed, I feel, because like people would only watch the season they want to. And it's like, if we have an entire season dedicated to growth and mindset, in hindsight, it could be a good idea. I think we could have a project where like a 4 episode breakdown on like, mindset, with having 4 different guests on and like them talking about it. It could work, I think that's a good idea. But a whole season, I think, would be stretching that. Would be like, really, what's the metaphor of it? Would be like stretching idea so thin, like beating a dead horse. Would be stretching it so thin that unless we have a new guest every week, it could work. But like, I think it's like works out better if it's a series. But yeah, I'm 100% on board with the idea of a numerical episode 100, episode 150, because it like allows people not to like feel forced to watch season 1. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, I do agree.
And then also do feel like there's like a sense of freedom to this, where, as you're right, 1, we can stay current, and 2, we can just talk about whatever that's going on. And there isn't like, we don't have to push a certain trend or arc, because it's, that season has to be around something. And then if you don't have any sort of topics, then there's no points of seasons, because every episode is just random, which is sort of what we're doing now, and which is sort of what I enjoy. And I just enjoy just sharing what's going on. And yeah.
It makes more sense. Like, we always have the opportunity to be able to do maybe like a 3-part series on like a special series on whatever growth mindset with other guests that we may want to have on, right? And there's always that opportunity, but it doesn't limit us. You know what I mean? And I think that's the beauty of it. But it is what it is. Today is the 6th of April, 2021. We've just come back from an Easter long weekend. For me, it was an amazing break. For Andy, it was just every week's a long weekend. But I think in corporate or in when you're working 9 to 5, you look forward to these sort of weekends, and it's something that like you can really just kick back and take your socks off and just really enjoy it, bro. How was your long weekend? Happy Easter to those who celebrate it. Happy Easter who don't. Just enjoy the holidays. But yeah, how was your long weekend?
It was pretty good. Something crazy happened this long weekend. I'll start from the start. So on Friday, we went down to the Seacliff Bridge in Wollongong with my family. Helped my mum climb up that mountain, and she was like scared. I was teaching her how to abseil, and that was a whole fun, cool family experience. And I was using a rental car. So my G-Wagon's currently at Mercedes Alexandria, Sydney. So they gave me a rental car for the weekend. It's just like a hatchback GLA 180. It's a pretty cool car. I like it. So we've been driving around that, and since I had a rental, I was like, damn, I should really put some Ks and kilometers and take this on a road trip. So the next day, which was Saturday, I just went on a random road trip and I had no direction. All I did was that night search like camping with stars or something. And a few locations came up. I found one location that was 3 hours out. I was like, okay, that's where I'm going to go. Drove 3 hours out. First, I checked out these glowworm tunnels. And it was crazy. It was like a 40-minute drive off-road. It was like dirt roads, sort of. So like every time a car would come down, there'll be a sandstorm and you have to stop for a few seconds before you can see to drive. There's a bunch of potholes. The back window is covered in dirt. It's just getting all dirty. But there's these cool tunnels, these cool roads. And it was amazing. Going into tunnels and seeing all these glowworms just light up in pitch black. Amazing experience. Then I drive to the next location, and the next location is supposed to be this abandoned mining town, mining sort of factory. But I got to the entrance, it was locked and it was closed for private property. So I was like, what do I do now? And I go to a local town and I see there's like a campsite there. I'm rolling around in this Mercedes and everyone's just giving me like dirty looks, like, because it's just a really redneck hippie town. In the countryside, so everyone's just like giving me these uncomfortable looks. I find this cool random couple, older, like probably in their like late 40s, talk to them, set up tent with them, and I go ahead and just drive around the area. I drive up north, I check out these nice roads, the views are beautiful, grassland, mountains, And then, I'm just driving aimlessly. I couldn't find the national park nearby, which I was trying to find. But on the way back, going back to town, like I saw this turtle crossing the road. I drove past it and I was like, okay, I want to go pick up the turtle. That's pretty cool. It's like a baby turtle. Maybe I'll bring it home. Get out the car, go back, and the turtle's crushed. Like, I felt so bad. Like the turtle was just crushed and its guts were out, and I felt so bad. Like I was like I felt like a freaking like Logan Paul or something, like doing some crazy thing, and I was like filming it a bit just because I wanted to like remember this bad experience, but I just felt so bad.
Oh no! Did you like put it to the side of the road and just?
Oh, I should have, but it was dead. It was crushed. It was blood. I didn't know what to do.
You panicked, didn't you? You panicked.
I was like,
No.
do you want to see footage? Let me see. Alright, cool.
Just like I'll show it. I'll see it later, but like not now. No.
Alright, we don't want a Logan Paul situation.
Yeah. we don't want that. Oh my god. So then, how did you deal with that? You just essentially packed up, moved on, and just kept going.
So initially, I was like, I didn't really care. I was going to keep driving. But then think of like all these other like influences on how they didn't care, like David Dobrik, that's a whole other big thing. Logan Paul. I was like, maybe I need to like really take this in and like feel sad for the turtle, and that's exactly what happened. Like I was like, let's take this in, and then I was just like really sad for the next like 10 minutes. And I was like that's another topic, like mourning versus it is what it is and moving on. Like, what's the benefits of mourning, and like, why is it bad to just like move on if there's nothing you can change? What's your thoughts, Christian?
I think mourning is a very complex process, which is completely different for each person. Some people are able to just cop it on the chin and just like grieve in their own way. Everyone grieves differently. Everyone processes things differently. Everyone is like, people are more sensitive to certain things than other people are. So I think the concept of mourning is very dependent on the type of person you are. 100%, I would need to mourn. I need time, like space, before I can just accept. Like deep down, I know you got to like breathe it in, accept it, cop it on the chin, move on. But like, if you think about it as like the worst case scenario, hand to God, your mother. No one wants that. Like no one wants that, right? Like, I think as hard as it is to say, like, oh, I just move on if a loved one passed away. No, like deep down you're gonna hurt, and like that's why mourning is important, because it allows you to like, you give yourself time to do that, but you can't get too like caught up in it. Otherwise it'll just you can just get in a cycle and become unhealthy, because you can pick up a lot of bad habits. You can just blame a lot of bad luck and bad decisions on, oh, but I'm mourning. There comes a point where you need to essentially pack it up and accept it is what it is. But I think it's a process that everyone needs to go through, but everyone goes through differently depending on the situation and what they're feeling, etc. What are your thoughts? I 100% already know that you're it is what it is sort of person, but I still want to hear your thoughts.
So initially I am it is what it is person, where I don't really get affected and I just like keep going, because I feel like there's no benefit of mourning or no benefit of like being sad and just like doing nothing. But I think it's like a mix of both. Like what I'm learning now is I should take it in to a degree where I learn from the mistakes. So I learn that if there's something slowly moving around, just like slow down, try to swerve it. Like I think I saw that from a distance. I knew it was a turtle, but for some reason I recklessly just kept driving because I assumed that I was going to drive past it and it was going to be in the middle, but I assumed wrong, obviously. So really taking it in to learn from that experience, to do it differently next time, or learn from the mistakes of someone that passed away, take it in, taking the lessons and then moving on. So I think that's sort of what I'm at now. And obviously my thoughts are going to change because this is something I haven't experienced enough to pivot and change the strategy. But right now the probably route or strategy or habit that I have is probably taking it in, really feeling what's happened, accepting it, and then moving on straight away, I think.
From what you've said to me, it sounds awfully a lot like how you'd go about your day-to-day life in terms of, because you have an opportunity to be doing what you're doing, being an entrepreneur, right? It's quite a methodical process where you break it down into its fine elements and just go, okay, look, this is what happened. Maybe I should have done this, is how I should process it, this is what I need to do. Okay, this is what I need to do to move on. Just like a very methodical process, as opposed to, you're completely removing an emotional bias out of any decisions, out of the entire process, which is important because, like I said before, you can't act out of emotion, because the minute that you act out of emotion, you'll do things you regret, you say things you regret, do a lot of things wrong, right? But yeah, I feel like I have a lot more of an emotional response as opposed, I definitely the benefits of a methodical approach are there, but yeah, it's a situational thing. Like if it's a turtle, my heart will break for poor little turtle, you know what I mean? But it's interesting, isn't it, how like people think so differently. Even like with mourning, I never really thought about mourning or grieving. Like if I feel like the people that, I don't know, what are your thoughts? Do you think people can be perceived as stone cold if they have a methodical approach as to dealing with it? But like that, people deal with things differently, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't classify you as stone cold, but it can come across as stone cold and like come across as, oh, I didn't give a shit, you know what I mean? Like,
because the thing I wondered, like, let's say your best friend's sister, friend's older brother, mum died, like literally today. You probably would be like, oh damn, that sucks, but you wouldn't feel anything. Why? Why don't you feel something when this external person has literally just died? And then why do you have to go ahead and mourn and take, a whole month off, or even, a week or a few days to mourn if someone close to you passed away? Now, probably the answer is going to be is because you have a lot of memories, they've done so much for you, and now they're gone. It's, really sad. But then that's the exact same thing that happened to that other person. They probably gave a lot of good experiences to other people, but it's not to you personally. But then again, something I just realized through talking with you, Christian, is right now I'm pretty like burnt out, where I'm like easily triggered at things, and I'm aware of, I haven't been like this is like stage 1 burnout. I haven't been in stage 1 burnout in a while because I've been keeping pretty balanced. But I think what stage 1 burnout is, the reason why I'm triggered is I think it's because I'm really pushing down sort of like sadness or something, and like that pushing or ignoring that is making me like easily triggered. Because like for some reason, just talking about this, I was like, if I wanted to, after this podcast, I could literally like put on some headphones, curl up in a ball and sit in my wardrobe and cry if I like really tried to. And I was like, why do I need to cry right now? Why do I feel sad? And like as I'm talking about it, it's just like all these feelings that have accumulated over the last few months of working just bubbling back up. And burnout occurs when you're just pushing it down. And that's something I just realized now talking with you.
Healthy conversations are always a start for being able to express yourself. Otherwise, if you're always going to be like, it goes with anything, say, okay, for instance, you have the work, right? But say, for instance, we'll stay on the track of mourning, right? You're right, like a person who's very distant to you, that have their own family that are close to them, who would deal with that emotional shock their own way. And, from afar, you'd just be like, you'd shrug your shoulders and just be like, oh, okay, like that person had no impact on you. And that's exactly right, because they had no impact on you. Like, right. So that situation is different. And the same with you, like that situation is different to you with working. It affects you differently. You process it differently. And if you aren't able to give yourself time to process it and just push it down and be like, okay, no, I need to keep moving on, I can't keep thinking about it, it's just going to stay there. It's going to be like...
I think that's the answer. You're exactly right.
Like it stays there as like a rock like a big rock in the middle of your stomach, and you'll always feel that rock. And then the minute that you start to feel the rock more, you force yourself to push it down and be like, no, I don't have the time to think about this, because the minute I give time to think about it, time is precious, time is money. I lost time, and that's time I'm not going to get back, because you don't know how long you're going to think about it for, and you think you're going to get in a cycle, you think you're going to do this, that. But if you talk about it a little bit and really just understand as to maybe why you're feeling this or what you can do to prevent this from happening in the future, that rock suddenly just feels a lot smaller, because you're allowing yourself to think about it. You're allowing yourself to go into detail as to what's going on. Like, it's something as small as that, which lets you to which allows you to move on, which allows you to mourn, which allows you to progress. So people deal with it differently. For me, I'm definitely one of those people that sit on it. I'd just take time to myself and just process it all, and then allow myself to come back and be open to a lot of other people. But yeah, everyone deals with it differently. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be ashamed of dealing with the way you do.
I think if you don't mourn or don't cry or don't let it out, it just builds up and it leads to like burnout. And it leads to like depression. And recently, my solution to burnout is just getting a lot of sleep and going to nature and stuff. But I'm going to try the strategy of really just like talking to myself, really seeing why I'm angry, why I'm sad, why I feel it, try to shed a tear. You know, I rarely cry. But I think like if I focus on it, I can let it out. And crying is something that's natural. And I think if you don't cry once every while, it's unhealthy maybe. But then also, on the other hand, couldn't you just get to burnout just because you're just like overworking yourself? And then how do you distinct the difference?
Yeah, like 100%. You can definitely get a burnout from overworking yourself, but at the same time, that still puts a lot of emotional stress on you, given that the emotional toll is still there, because you're really pushing yourself to try and achieve this. And if you're not, you're always questioning as to what's going on, why isn't this working, or like, you know, what's happening, like this should be working, like why am I in this situation that I'm in? And then it just keeps cycling, and then you get these feelings of, like, it's always like you need to be able to take a step back. Like, whether you take a methodical approach into dealing with things or an emotional approach, there's always going to be that emotional aspect in every human being where then it needs to be addressed. And the minute you don't address it, issues arise. Definitely you can deal with it at a methodical approach, but yeah, 100% right. Sometimes you just need to shed that tear. You need to sit down, talk it out, understand it, accept that it's wrong, accept that things aren't working out. Because the minute that because I'm 100% the same, where I refuse to accept that if something's not working out, I get pissed. Like, if I'm applying to a job and I don't get it, like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not getting this? I know I'm better than a lot of other people. You get pissed. You question a lot of things, but take a step back, plan it all out, talk to yourself, just keep pushing. Everything happens for a reason. Everything, like, I'm a believer in everything happens for a reason. I know maybe you're not, but like, I think everything happens for a reason. I think you reap the rewards that you get when you work hard. There's no denying that you work hard, so you just take it in. You take it in. That's what I'll have to say. You have to take it.
On that topic, I think on the destiny and stuff, I actually have been starting to believe it more and more. So I've been watching How I Met Your Mother, as you know, nearly finished 9 seasons. And it's true, like, when you meet that girl you marry at 35, 30, 28, 27, you literally had to go through all these different breakups, all these different downs and ups, losing your job. All those things had to happen for you to end up with that girl. So literally everything literally happens for a reason. And everything I experienced has happened due to me not being able to go back to America, me choosing to force myself to say yes to this, me meeting up with some fan, and that led to something. Like, everything does happen for a reason, strangely. And that's sort of why my hypothesis is doing so many different things, because when you do a bunch of different things, they just open a bunch of timelines for different future things to happen. And obviously each timeline might just go to a dead end and nothing happens, but more timelines the better.
Yeah, 100%. It's like you talked about last week. Like, that's a great way to put it. Like, each different thing that you do opens up a new timeline. Each different party that you think you might not want to go to because you don't know many people there could open up a timeline. You meet different people. Even if it doesn't, you went it is what it is. It's a good experience, or like even if you didn't do something and happened. It's like you talked about last week, where you had potential. You have a Rolex on your wrist, or you got the G-Wagon. It opens up the doors that you didn't know was there previously, and you can question certain purchases, you can question certain decisions, but at the end of the day, all roads lead to Rome. Everything I'm telling you, like, okay, if you go into everything with the mindset that everything happens for a reason, and just like become a dickhead and just do like a bunch of random stupid shit, like you're an idiot. You deserve what's coming to you because you'll put yourself in a situation which is unfamiliar, unwarranted, and just something that you shouldn't be doing. But like, if you just keep doing what you're doing, bro, I'm telling you, everything happens. New timelines, it's a flash, bro. You flashpoint, you get new timelines everywhere. You just choose which timeline you can. Maybe the timeline that you're meant to be following, like your one true timeline, hasn't even opened yet. You just don't know. You don't know.
Exactly. You're right. There's probably like a timeline that leads to being the one and that hasn't opened yet. But then again, even those dead timelines of like you go into a party and you meet literally no one and you go home half an hour later, even though that timeline has technically ended, but that timeline aids to you creating a new timeline because now you've got that extra bit of confidence, that extra bit of talking skill, that extra bit of less anxiety to go to a party that led you to go on to something else that you would have said no if you said no to this one, and then that timeline leads to you doing something amazing. So even dead timelines allow you to create better timelines.
Yeah, and create your own timeline. We're going to title this "How to Create Your Own Timeline" or something along those lines. But yeah, 100%. You don't think about it that way, eh? Like something that you could be perceiving as dead time, wasted time. Really, there's a little bit of growth in there which you can inhibit and take onto something else. And it's just, so even this podcast is a timeline I did not know I was gonna like. It's always something I wanted to do, but isn't it crazy? Like if we didn't go on that trip, this timeline wouldn't have happened. Like it wouldn't have been a thing. I wouldn't have got to meet Steven. I wouldn't have got to do this with you and really get a better understanding as to what we're supposed to do in this. And obviously we're still learning. We don't have anything down pat at all by any means, and that's the beauty of it. But it's still a timeline. It's crazy. It's mental. It is mental. And the minute you stop and think about the certain decisions that you made to lead to where you are right now, bro, it's fantastic. And that's why when you take a methodical approach, you need to realize that sometimes grieving is the best, because it allows you to really process as to how far you've come, what you've done and everything, and the timeline that's created. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And the thing is, each timeline has like a maturity age. Like the timeline gets better and better as long as it doesn't die. I think that's so, like if you go to a party, you meet one person, you start hanging with that person, they introduce you to their group of friends, and then you get to know their group of friends, then you meet a girl. That timeline just keeps getting better and better over time. Same as this podcast timeline. It's just going to get more and more interesting. We're going to be sharing different stories. Crazier things are going to happen in the future. And if we keep a timeline happening, it just gets better and better over time. And that's sort of why when someone hits like the age of 30 and they've had like freaking 10 different timelines going for the last 10 years, by the time they hit 30, they're freaking like multi-millionaire because everything's just maturing altogether.
And then it all comes full circle. You learn from the experiences of other people, and yeah, like it's interesting, eh? Like I'd say that I'm on my chosen timeline in terms of career. I think I'm on a set timeline. I don't see myself pivoting in a huge manner. You know what I mean? But yeah, would you say that you're on that timeline in the sense that with your business and everything? Like I'd say you are. I'd 100% say you are.
I reckon right now, like I'm springing like freaking 20 timelines. Yeah. And I do feel like I'm gonna slowly merge it to one, and I'll trim off timelines. So that's another thing. Trimming off timelines. Yeah, that's the thing. Like sometimes there are things that you just can't focus on. Like right now, like I might end up in the future trimming off the Rolex and nice cars timeline and just focus on the main business. I might trim off the timeline of just freaking going to random parties and creating, rather than potentially creating those new timelines, just stop creating those new timelines, and the timelines of meeting people at random parties might go extinct. So I think right now I'm just going wide, and I do need to trim it back very, very soon because I do find myself getting spread thin and getting a bit too distracted. So I think it's always going to be growing small, grow small, and then the middle vein will just get thicker and thicker over time.
Yeah, I think you're definitely in a position right now, as opposed to say 30 weeks ago when we first started.
Dude, that's so crazy. 30 weeks ago, like I don't know about you, but I was like in a completely different situation, different setup. Things were a lot different. Like I didn't have the fish tank, like the surroundings different. Wow.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, 30 weeks ago, everything was completely different. You didn't have many wider timelines in the sense that you're quite focused on your business and you weren't ready to like really splash out on a lot of different things. But you know, you're currently at a stage where you have all these different things going on, left, right, center. And I think you've realized like, and some need to like trim, and then, you know, you put yourself back on a path, and yeah, like it's just a matter of time being self-aware as to what's going on around you. It's interesting, 30 weeks ago, it was completely different. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's one of the things I had. Like, I do want to go back to the weekend story, but before we do, I reckon like if we like film literally 1,000 episodes, like in the future, there's going to be AI that can just scan all 1,000 episodes and recreate us. Like we would basically live forever, because like the more we talk all these stories we share, the commonalities of what words do we say after each word, and like literally if we like, they could make a Joe Rogan AI now. Like they literally can.
It doesn't help that all our personal information is backed up onto the cloud as well, that any particular AI could just immediately cross-reference that with this and then have a personality with all the personal details, bank accounts, etc. They just have a digital version of ours. We've spoken about this before, but in essence, yeah, there is a potential of that in the future. But we'll go back to the weekend story. Like, so the poor turtle got crushed. Side tangent there, but yeah. And what happened after? So did you find a place to camp next to those people? Did you go back to them or not?
So I drove back, and there was this like long road, and I just wanted to turn into it to see what it looks like. Turned into it, ended up being private property, and I was like, maybe I should turn around because this is private property. But I just kept going, and I saw a group of people, Bonfire. They looked pretty young. I saw like some cool cars, like there was like a BMW, there was like a Toyota Land Cruisers, some like Utes. And I was like, I should turn around because I'm obviously going into someone else's house right now and they're doing their thing. But for some reason I was like, no, I need to keep going. So I kept driving all the way, parked, got out, and they walked towards me. They're like, hey there. I was like, hey. I was like, do you know where the national park nearby is? Like I can't seem to find it. Or is there any like hikes, any way I could get to the top of these surrounding mountains? And they start showing me. They're like super cool guys. They're roughly in their like early 30s, late 20s, maybe mid 30s. And we're just chatting. I'm telling them about my camping experience. They're like, did you travel on your own? Why are you on your own? And we're just talking. And they're like, I was like, yeah, I've just, since I already set up tent in the town, I was just looking for something to do before the sun sets. And it was like, hey, why don't you, hang out with us before the sun sets? And I was like, awesome. So I start talking to them, getting to know them more. And I was talking to one of the girls, and she's like, that town's like filled with weirdos. I was like, what? I didn't know that. And then we're talking more, and she was like, hey, why don't you just set up tent right here? And then we talk more and more. I'm like, okay. I end up saying, hey, yeah, I'm gonna go retrieve my tent. I'll be right back before the sun sets. So like I drive off, do my tent, say bye to that couple I met, give them my details and show them where I'm staying just in case these people kill me. And then I drive back to the location. They tell me where to set up tent. They tell me to set it pretty far from the house, which is okay because I'm a stranger. Set up tent. And we end up just like having an amazing conversation. Like all these people are super cool. Like the main guy who is leasing the farm, he owns like a tailoring business, makes suits. There's another guy that owns a farm that grows like grain and wheat. There's another guy that has like a sports cream sort of thing. There's like the girlfriend or the wife of that tailoring guy, she owns like a bridal business, tailoring bridal dresses, and they're all like pretty decent like entrepreneurs and business people, and we're just talking about business, and we just totally clicked. And we had a nice bonfire, they had food, the sky was amazing, the stars were crazy, you could see the whole Milky Way. And then around 8 p.m. They offer me some, and then half an hour later, I have my own PAX area, so I'm chilling, I'm talking to them. First I bring out the PAX, and they're like, that it instantly breaks the ice, because I could tell they were really on. They were laughing, they were giggling, and then like they didn't say anything about it because I was just this young kid. And then the moment I bring out the PAX, one of the guys like, oh, thank God, I thought I was gonna have to hide the from this damn kid. So instantly break the ice. They give me a hour in, don't feel anything. An hour and a half, I feel pretty like chill and zen. I thought maybe I already got the and it already hit me, but I'm just like pretty high tolerance. And then freaking 11 p.m. hits me like a truck. Now I'm struggling to move around. Now I'm starting to slur. Now the conversations are being less like cool and like talking about business. Now I'm just like numb. And then I eventually knock out, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna leave at like 11:30. I get to my tent, go in, lie down. And then I keep waking up like every half an hour, and the time feels like it's slowing down.
Yeah.
And then I'm checking my clock, and only a few times now it's hot. I'm like putting on my sleeping bag, I'm making myself into like a burrito. Then it's getting too hot, I'm pulling everything out, and I'm like trying to stretch because it's hot. And then I'm like blurringly trying to like open up the tent to get out, putting my shoes and going to like piss and take a leak. And then everything's slow motion. I'm trying to hold my torch, I'm trying to leak, and I'm not, and then for some reason I'm pretty sure even now I felt like I've dreamt this before. I've had multiple dreams where I would like try to struggle to get out of this weird tent, go into this weird dark place, and I would piss, I'll take a leak into the grass, and usually I would, leak in the bed, and I'll wake up from the dream. It was a wet dream, but not like an actual wet dream. It was like I pissed in the bed, and I would wake up. So if I had these dreams before, and I was like, is this a dream? Am I in a dream right now? Am I gonna wake up after I piss? So I piss and I don't wake up. This is real life right now. I'm like, what? I've had these dreams when I was younger. And I'll go back into the tent, crawl back in, go in my thing, turn myself into a burrito. My eyes, like while I'm sleeping, I'm seeing these like cool, like, those old school games where like you're flying and you're shooting different things, or like there's different patterns. Like I'm seeing those patterns in my eyes as I'm lying. I've also done this when I was younger. I've dreamt of this, and then I'm hearing background noise. I repeat that exact same process like twice, and the third time I'm like, I need to break out of this cycle. I'm gonna like walk to my car or something, or get out and walk to my car. And the moment I thought of that, I was like, I've dreamt of me going out, walking into my car, sitting in my car, and like getting cold. And I do that exact thing, and now I'm sitting in my car like a bit cold, and because I think I feel safer in the car. And then I also do another thing where I go back to the tent, I go out of the tent, I go to the fireplace where everyone's sitting, and I scream, hey guys, I think I'm tripping out or something. But I also remember dreaming about doing this. Like I've had a dream of this exact experience in the freaking past, and I'm like sitting there now, I'm like cross my legs, and I'm like, holy shit, everything I do right now, I can't sleep. If I go and pee, that's what I dream. But if I go back into the car, I've done that before. I've also had a dream where I went into that scary house and tried to see everyone. I also had a dream before where I just kept walking into the distance, and I end up like hanging myself on a tree. That sounds a bit bad.
Wow.
Or like another route where like I just like take the car and I drive off. And then everything felt like, as I kept going down those different possible routes, I felt like I would die in the end. I was like, holy crap, am I in a simulation that just keep cycling? Literally, I'm just in this cycle. I'm like, what the hell is happening? It just felt so real. It felt like I've dreamt this in the past, and then now it's actually has happened to me in real life, and this is my last night. Like, this is when the dreams from when I was younger come into fruition. And now I'm thinking like, what in the... Was it just like stuff, or was there like some mushrooms or something? Did they spike? What the hell is happening? Are they going to come and get me? And then eventually I just like forced myself, okay, like sometimes my heart beating would get hard, it would get hard. I was just like, fuck, I'm just gonna lie down and just like chill out. And then luckily I then knock out till like 6 a.m. And I wake up and then I was like, huh, did all those things I just mentioned, did those happen? And I checked my phone because I've recorded some of the things to check. Like, I literally did a recording saying, hey, 1, 2, 3, is this real? Because if I watch the footage back, if I see myself saying those things, I'm not in a simulation or I'm not in a dream. And I'll actually see the videos of me saying it. I'm like, holy shit, all this is real. And then the next morning I check the videos, they're still there. I'm like, holy shit, this all happened. I wake up, I go to the car, there's finger marks on the cars. So I actually went and sat in the car. So all those things I just told you actually freaking happened. It was not a dream. I was like, what the hell happened? And like, for some reason I had some existential feeling that, like, literally talking about timelines, our lives have already been planned out. Like, we already know what's going to happen to the very end, and there's many different routes that you can take, but they're all going to sort of lead to a similar route, or they might split and go to different directions. But things have sort of already, like, I thought I could feel like I could see my future. Like, I literally knew if I did this thing, this would happen, because I've dreamt of it in the past. But yeah, that was some crazy freaking experience.
Oh, my friend, you really, really know how to push your limits in terms of your comfort zones with strangers, in being in a bush. I would have shat myself. I would have actually died. I don't know how you could have.
Yeah, you know why? Because I was like, please end this repetition. Please stop repeating. Let me get out of this simulation. So I was like, when I was young, I was like, why would people like get bad trips and die? I get it. I sort of get it.
I think this is also like a big mix of like being in an unfamiliar environment. You know, everything was happening all at once, and then your paranoia crept in because of the deja vu that you're experiencing, and it all just kind of culminated into one big, yeah. Because you know how that does happen. Like, sometimes you do get feelings of deja vu where you literally stop midway of doing something. You're like, but that was like an entire evening for you. So that was just, wow, what an experience, to say the least. It was something that you're never gonna forget, and you have the recordings to prove it.
Yeah, I love documenting stuff like that. So the lessons learned is, one, definitely don't take stuff from strangers. Stick to whatever you have. And two, what I took from that sort of trip was life is like sort of already planned out. Like, when I was going through that, one of the things that was going through my mind was like, as I could see my whole future, I was like, what's the point of like, this might sound a bit suicidal, but I was like, what's the point of living? I literally know what's going to happen. I know all these different routes. If I do this and that, that's all going to lead. I'm going to eventually die. Why not just die now? Now, obviously, my survival instincts kicked in. I was like, no, I'm not going to die. I'm too precious. And that's when your ego comes in, like, fuck this, I'm not dying. I have so much on the line. And the reason why I felt like a simulation was, it felt like when I'm in the state I'm now, where I'm going at it day by day, it feels like everything's just slow. And we're sort of really embracing and living in the simulation, and we're not waking up. Like, I felt like I was in a literal, like, freaking Matrix sort of thing, where the moment I wake up, I'd be in this whole different world. Yeah. And by doing this and staying alive, I'm succumbing to the simulation. And those were the thoughts I was having. But what I did learn was like, we are in a simulation, or we are in a game, and literally anything is possible. Like anything, like we should be taking a risk. We should be walking up to that girl that we think is really pretty and just saying hi. We should be going ahead and applying for this job that we think we have no chance for, just because we should apply for it. Like we should be doing all those things because this is a freaking game and it's all gonna end the same way. And literally, like, if we're in this game, we might as well really embrace it and have fun. But yeah, that was an interesting trip.
Yeah, 100%. Wow, what a story. I think that tops all the stories you've had on this podcast so far. Oh my god. Like, firstly, I'm so happy you're safe and everything. And secondly,
thank you.
Wow, we'll go into more depth later, but oh my god. Oh my god. But look, guys,
dude,
what a way. What? Oh god, I'm just shocked. I'm honestly shocked.
Yeah, let me play, like, I'll play some videos on my phone because it's like, it'll be hard for you to see, but I'll play it anyway so everyone can get a bit of a sneak peek. Alright. Oh shit, I'm just saying random shit.
Dream delicious. Go against circles.
And there was like this other clip where I was just like,
Testing. 1, 2, 3. How do I really sound? Does this look wet?
and I'm like freaking like, for some reason putting the camera at my like, dude, like I'm like trying to see if it's real. I'm like freaking checking my body, and I'm re-watching that clip afterwards, and I'm like, holy shit, this is happening.
I'm looking at your face, you look so out of it. You're like, oh bro, your face, you're just like, what is going on? Like you were sleeping and then I had the flash on your eyes and you just, oh, what a surreal out of body, out of world experience. Oh my god.
And like I was like, oh here, let me see if I have footage of the car. Oh here. So I'm like, damn, like those are finger marks from my car. So I actually like went and sat in my car. That's weird. Going out of my tent, going to my car and just sitting there and trying to sleep. Like that actually happened. Like what the hell?
It's so crazy, like all these outer world, out of body experiences, you can confirm that it happened. Like usually afterwards when you wake up, you just be like, what just happened, or did that happen? But if
you think everything is a dream and you ignore it and you just push it into the background?
Yeah, into the background and continue moving on. Otherwise you'll be succumbing to the simulation and it's just like, yeah, there you go, guys. We've hit a good mark. Before we go into any deeper rabbit holes, I think we're going to end it there. Episode 30. Wow, I'll remember this episode for a while. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Andy, I'll let you sign off, but thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. I love doing these. It's like a way to document and solidify our stories. Because, like, literally this podcast, I think, like, it's sort of like it's like the most in-depth way to share who you are. Like, even if I create a documentary combining all my vlog footage, all my camera footage, this is gonna be the foundation of any TV show, any documentary, because this is the best way to get to know someone. When there's just a bunch of clips put together, it's not a true form of who that person is at that time. So that's why I enjoy doing these, and it's a way to really document what's happening at the time. And I just love sharing these like mind-opening stories and situations. And yeah, I really appreciate everyone that's listening and joining me along with this journey. So yeah, thanks guys, and thank you, Christian, for being a part of it and doing this with me.
Definitely. And I just want to say, if you're listening on Spotify or whatever, thank you so much as well. Appreciate it. We do have a new YouTube channel where these podcast episodes will be released, so we'll leave a link. Any subscriptions would be much appreciated, any likes, etc. Just trying to streamline away from the main channel and my channel, so we've got our own YouTube channel. Just leave a link. Please give it a watch, give everything a few listens, etc. But appreciate it very much, guys. Thank you so much.
Peace, guys. Go to the flip side, and if it doesn't show up, search the flip side, Annie, Mai, and Christian Pavu, and it should pop up if you added those names. And hopefully eventually, once we rank up, if you search up the flip side, we're at the top. That's a goal. Peace out, guys.